What if I told you there's a lake on Earth that turns animals to stone, and it's completely real? No myths. No CGI. Just one of nature's deadliest masterpieces. This isn't a horror story. It's a scientific one, and it could change how we understand life itself. High in the arid stretch of northern Tanzania, nestled near the Kenyan border, lies a place so surreal, it defies belief. Its waters shimmer in shades of red, orange, and silver. Birds dare not land. Even the wind seems to hold its breath over its surface. This is Lake Natron, the lake that turns life to stone. But before we jump to supernatural conclusions, let's explore the strange, beautiful, and entirely scientific truth behind this natural phenomenon. Lake Natron sits at the lowest point of the Great Rift Valley, a massive scar in the Earth's crust formed by the shifting of tectonic plates. The area is geologically active. Just southeast of the lake stands the El Doño volcano, the only known active volcano that spews nitrocarbonatite lava, a unique kind of lava rich in sodium and potassium carbonates. Over millennia, these mineral-rich eruptions have flowed into the lake basin, infusing its waters with a deadly alchemy. But why does it petrify animals? Lake Natron is shallow, rarely more than 3 meters deep, and it's extremely alkaline, with a pH as high as 10.5. To put that into perspective, it's more caustic than household ammonia. The water's high concentration of natron, a mixture of sodium carbonate and baking soda, is what gives the lake its name. In ancient times, the Egyptians used natron to embalm their dead. Today, nature is doing something eerily similar. When small animals, mostly birds and bats, come into contact with the lake's water, they often die due to its extreme alkalinity and high temperature, which can reach 60 degrees Celsius 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Over time, their bodies are preserved in the baking soda-rich crust. This process doesn't actually turn them to stone, but it does desiccate and calcify them, leaving them eerily intact, like lifelike statues. In 2011, photographer Nick Brandt took a series of haunting photographs of animals that had washed up along the lake's shore. They looked like marble sculptures, wings outstretched, eyes wide open, as if frozen mid-motion. His photos went viral. But the real shock. The images weren't staged. The animals had naturally died and been calcified by the lake's chemical composition. All Brandt did was gently pose them near the shoreline. This led to global fascination. Was this lake cursed? Was it radioactive? Could it pose a threat to humans? Despite its danger, Lake Natron is not universally deadly. In fact, one species thrives here, the lesser flamingo. This iconic bird, known for its vibrant pink hue, makes Lake Natron its breeding ground. How? The flamingos have adapted to the lake's high alkalinity. They feed on the algae that bloom in the salty water and nest on small islands that rise as the lake's water recedes. This paradox, a deadly lake that is also a cradle of life, is one of the most fascinating aspects of Natron. It serves as both graveyard and nursery. Let's break down the chemistry. The lake's sodium carbonate preserves animal bodies in much the same way salt was used for mummification in ancient Egypt. High pH levels destroy bacteria and deter scavengers, aiding preservation. The extreme heat accelerates the dehydration process. Animals that die in or near the lake dry out rapidly, leaving their outer forms relatively intact. In essence, it's nature's mummification lab. But here's the twist, the preservation isn't always instant. Most animals die from exposure or drowning and are preserved after death, not mid-flight as myths suggest. However, because their bodies stay intact for so long, it creates the illusion of being turned to stone. Why should we care about a toxic lake in Tanzania? Because Lake Natron may hold clues to how life, or death, could behave on other planets. The conditions in and around the lake mimic what scientists believe may exist on Mars or Europa, one of Jupiter's icy moons. High alkalinity, mineral richness, and extreme temperatures are all part of the equation. If certain organisms can survive in Lake Natron, it suggests that microbial life might exist in places we once thought barren. NASA scientists have studied extremophiles, life forms that thrive in harsh environments, here, to gain insight into potential extraterrestrial life. In other words, Lake Natron isn't just deadly, it may be cosmic. Of course, with such a dramatic setting, myths abound. Local folklore says the lake is cursed by spirits that trap the souls of animals and travelers. There are tales of fishermen who vanished without a trace. Some even claim that staring into the lake for too long brings misfortune. While these are just stories, they speak to the lake's impact on human imagination. And it's easy to see why. The landscape is alien, the water blood-colored, and the silence, heavy. It doesn't help that the lake is mostly devoid of sound, no chirping, no croaking, just the occasional gust of wind. Despite its danger, Lake Natron is not off-limits. In fact, it draws scientists, photographers, and curious travelers each year. But caution is essential. The lake is hard to access, surrounded by jagged terrain and tribal lands. Touching the water isn't recommended, especially with cuts or wounds. Visitors should wear protective gear and avoid disturbing wildlife. Yet for those brave enough, witnessing Lake Natron is like stepping onto another planet. Lake Natron is more than a deadly trap. It's a mirror. It reflects the fragility of ecosystems. It shows us how life adapts, or fails, when the environment turns hostile. It reminds us that beauty and danger often share the same space. And above all, it teaches us that even the strangest places on Earth are not mistakes, but masterpieces of nature. In a world full of chaos, there are places that seem to exist outside time, untouched by man, unyielding to life. Lake Natron is one such place. And maybe, just maybe, its silence is asking us to listen, before more of Earth turns to stone.